Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's video. Day 10 will take us to the 25th of November, and we'll be able to extend up beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles, because very much around a couple of weeks we'll have a look at the CFS B2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, and that gets us well into December. I shall get on with that for you in a moment. Just say that the first video today was our 6 AM upload, and we'll also release the EC 30-day look out for the UK and for the rest of Europe as well, so check out those two videos. Got the 5th installment of the Christmas countdown coming up for you tonight, so please like, share, subscribe on video. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. It's a soggy, chilly Tuesday if you've not been out and about, but I having a lovely day anyway, and it is a bit grim out there, but it's actually starting to brighten up here at the towers after a very wet morning. Well, let's crack on with the video then. So you're going to start off with centering and temperature. CT is still sitting at 10.8, which is 4.4 degrees above average. That's provisional to yesterday, to the 14th of November. That should start gradually coming down, as I've been saying in the videos over the past few days. That should start gradually coming down over the next week or so. Excuse me. These were GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're looking at London today. So the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. We're starting off around to a little bit above average at the moment. The upper air temperature is still declining really from the very warm upper air temperature we had over the weekend. That decline is going to continue. So by sort of mid to second half of this week, we're actually going a little bit below average with the upper air temperature, probably near normal with surface temperatures, and then hovering close to average really through the rest of November, although there might be a slight tick up there in the final days of the month. You'll notice that the thick green line, which is the operational run, that actually takes off and becomes a warm, not necessarily outlier, but certainly one of the warmest ensemble members within the ensemble swing. The control run, the thick green line, the thick blue line I should say, is also doing something very similar. We might get some milder air coming back in right at the end of the month. Precipitation wise, I think that's a big story for the second half of November, as I've been saying. Looks very unsettled. So lots of wet weather to come over the next couple of days. Perhaps a dry interlude towards the end of the week, towards a day or two, but over the weekend into next week, more bouts of heavy rain coming in from off the Atlantic. It does look as though it's going to be a significantly wetter than average November. Temperature anomalies from the 15th to 23rd of November going to be around to ever so slightly above average, not a particularly big deviation. That's certainly coming down, that anomaly, from what it was like a few days ago. And precipitation anomalies looking wetter than normal from the 15th to 23rd of December, so above average rainfall and near normal temperatures. Latest wind flow map from earthnoilschool.net shows that low pressure is well and truly in control of the weather today, south of Iceland, and bringing in active weather fronts that bring that those outbreaks of rain. And following that, there's going to be showery conditions, and more low pressure is waiting in the wings in the Atlantic. So there's going to be further bouts of wind and rain to come. Right, this is our latest UK Met Euro run. It's looking for midnight on Friday. So low pressure sitting over the top of the country, a bit of a dartboard, but we bring showers and longer spells of rain. We have got high pressure up over Scandinavia. As we go into the weekend, that high pressure over Scandinavia does look quite poised. Now bring something a little bit colder towards us. Notice there's quite a deep cold pool sitting across eastern parts of Europe by the time we get to the weekend. We've got -10 iceberg there through Poland, for example, and even colder than that into the extreme northeast of Europe. So there is cold air sitting just to our east. -5 iceberg just over the other side of the North Sea. But this next area of low pressure comes in Saturday into Sunday, and that acts as a stopper, a buffer, against any of that cold air coming our way. Really quite a close run thing, actually, and the battle carries on really into the early part of next week. The high pressure in Scandinavia again trying to bring that cold air westwards into western parts of Europe. Low pressure trying to stop it and keep the mild air coming off the Atlantic. Eventually we look like that by the end of the UK Met Euro run. with low pressure starting to slide northwest, southeast. We call these slider lows. Normally low pressure would take a west to east or southwest to northeast track, something like that. But when you get an area of high pressure sitting over Scandinavia and Northern Europe blocking the lows, they take the easiest path. And the easiest path in that scenario is to go in that direction, northwest to southeast, and we call those slider lows. Sometimes if the main low, which is that one just there, if that one slides as well, that can be the opening to get in the door in the east around the Scandinavian high to take over. Up to that point, we're just very unsettled, very wet still with these areas of low pressure producing more spells of rain. But we have got the -5 cells ice from there, just flirting with the east coast. So the UK Met is actually really quite close to that area of high pressure, beginning to bring colder air to us by the end of the run. Quite interesting. Icon looks like that again. Low pressure in control on Friday, bringing showers and even longer spells of rain into the weekend. Further wet and windy weather comes in from off the Atlantic. So Saturday into Sunday looks particularly unsettled with, quite a lot of rain to come. And then into the early part of next week, we begin to pick up some of those slider lows again. Notice we've got low pressure going from the North Atlantic towards the Bay of Biscay. So by the time we get through to the end of the Icon run, which gets us to midday next Tuesday, this time next week, got low pressure both our south and west. High pressure is there across western parts of Russia, not necessarily a Scandinavian high, but the heights are building up to the north and to the northeast. So quite where that goes beyond that, will be quite uncertain. Right, here's the GFS midnight run then, and once more we've got low pressure in control on Friday, and showers, long spells, rain into the weekend, further wet and windy weather there Friday into Saturday. And on into next week, more areas of low pressure piling in from off the Atlantic, further bouts, wind and rain. We don't see those slider lows with GFS midnight rates, not as strong with the Scandinavian high, so we don't start sliding the energy on the northwest southeast alignment. We just keep wet and windy weather piling in really from off the Atlantic with several bouts of rain, and we start to pick up a very mild southwesterly wind there temporarily around 25th, 26th of November. In the extended range, very extended range, at the end of November, we get a change as high pressure starts ridging in from off the Atlantic, and we finish up on the first day of December, first day of meteorological winter, as well, of course, under an area of high pressure. That will probably start bringing cold air to this surface anyway, with frost and fog, but it's not like a blocking, northern blocking type scenario. But no sign of like a Scandinavian high or a Greenland high, anything like that. So it would be colder from frost and fog, but not anything particularly wintry. The GFS 6Z, again, shows low pressure in control on Friday with sunshine and showers. A little bit quieter Friday into Saturday, then the next low sweeping in Saturday into Sunday, bringing the next bout of slow-moving heavy rain across the country. Into the early part of next week, the low pressures just keep coming, and further bouts of rain too. Again, not much sign of those slider lows that we saw within Icon and the UK Met. The GFS just keeps the wind in from the west and from the southwest, which is relatively mild wind direction, with further bouts of heavy rain and strong winds to come. Now, we established when we looked at the ensemble graph that at the end of the GFS 6, it becomes not necessarily a warm outlier or a mild outlier, but, just about the warmest ensemble member. And this is how it happens. So low pressure begins to stall in the Atlantic, and we start to draw up those southerly winds again. So back come the southerly winds as we go into the closing days of the month. This is 27th of December. With low pressure out to the west, high pressure to our east, and drawing up that long fetched southerly. The air is actually originating from Spain and North Africa there, and going all the way up into the Arctic. As the upper air temperatures for Sunday the 27th of November, notice how warm the warm air from North Africa and some parts of Spain pushing northwards up western side of Europe into the North Atlantic, actually moving into the Arctic. We call this warm air advection, WAA. And what happens with this is that the warm air pushes up in that direction, and on its eastern side you can start blowing up a ridge of high pressure, or an area of high pressure can start to be inflated as a result of that warm air being pushed northwards, almost like pumping up a tyre. You can imagine that when you pump air into your tyre will get harder and will expand. That's more or less the same thing that's going on with warm air advection. So what happens on this GFS 6 run is that we keep drawing up those southerly northwesterly winds, which keeps inflating this area of high pressure. It's actually the Siberian high, really. It certainly connects back to the Siberian high, sitting just to our east and northeast. Look at the upper air temperature there for the 28th of November. We actually got plus 10 Celsius isotherm across the country, and plus 15 Celsius isotherm is more or less in the Bay of Biscay. That's exceptionally warm air pushing northwards up west side of Europe. But the upshot is to build up increasingly the high pressure over Scandinavia and back into western Russia up to 1,045 millibars. At this point, this is the 29th of November, a very long way out now, probably won't verify, but at this point we're probably starting to bring colder air in at the surface from off the continent. Look how warm the upper air temperatures are right into the North Pole, really, with those warm upper air temperatures that have air that's originating all the way from like North Africa and southern parts of Spain. Moving towards the end of November, this is the 30th of the month. Again, the high pressure over Scandinavia, the winds beginning to bat more towards the southeast, possibly hinting that it could go east. There's not much cold air sitting to our east, really. So even if we do get wind in from the east with that, there's not all that much in the way of genuine cold to the east. But that's how we look at the end of the GFS 6. And it does look, quite dramatic, that, doesn't it? Not very often you see like a 1,055 millibar Siberian high ridging into Scandinavia and threatening to turn the wind into the east. So the reason we get quite excited about the Siberian high is that, as you can see, if you follow the isobars back, the air can originate from a very, very, very long way east. You can imagine that's going right way into the depths of Siberia, and you can pull some of that air out into Europe with these big Siberian highs, but they are very rare. It's very rare to be able to do that. Like, occasionally it happens, and sort of February 1986, for example, was is a month that started off certainly with the Siberian high, bringing very cold air from like Russia and whatnot. But it is unusual. It is a very unusual scenario. That's how the upper air temperatures look with that. Notice they're still relatively mild across much of northern Western Europe, although cold air is starting to gather across the far east of Europe and into western parts of Russia. But actually on the surface it is a lot colder, so we've got an inversion going on here already, where most of northern Europe, much of Europe actually looks cold, very cold with frost and whatnot, and that is beginning to push into the west of Europe as well. So we call that an inversion when it's mild aloft within the upper atmosphere, but cold on the surface due to heat radiating away due to the time of the year. Very, very interesting GFS 6 there. Right, if you're enjoying this video, please can you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Don't forget to drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. And make sure you tell your friends and family about GavsWeatherVids and ask them to subscribe too. And if you do that, we're going to get 15,000 subscribers, hopefully before Christmas, but we'll have to wait and see about that. We've got to put on around 52, 53 subscribers now to get to 14.8k. When we get 15k, we're going to give away an Amazon voucher. It would be nice if we could do that before Christmas, but I think it's probably going to be in January that we do that. But in any case, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. GEM looks like this. Again, low pressure dominated weather on Friday. High pressure is sitting over Scandinavia. Into weekend, further low pressure powering in from the Atlantic, bringing more bouts of wind and rain with it. Early next week, again, further low pressure in control of the weather. These areas of low pressure are beginning to move further southwards along with the jet stream as we go deeper into next week, although the upper air temperatures look relatively mild for us, but there is a puddle of really quite cold air sitting over Scandinavia. As we get to day 10, we just stay under that area of low pressure. We don't take the lows far in the south, to start bringing that cold air in from the east. And then the ECM WF looks like that. So once more, low pressure is dominating weather on Friday into the weekend. Further low pressure powering in from off the Atlantic. That will bring more wet and windy weather, and more wet and windy weather with that area of low pressure through the early part of next week as well. Having a really, really good go at get wind into the east there by the middle of next week, just sort of giving a glancing blow to the far north of Scotland, but up to day 10, staying relatively mild, away from Northern Scotland. We have got more of an easterly wind there, but most of those staying relatively mild up to day 10, with just further low pressure bringing more bouts of rain. Here's the precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Precipitation.com. So this is today's deluge. That's getting out of the way this afternoon. Will be replaced by lots of heavy, maybe even quite thundery showers. And then tomorrow and tomorrow night, we're going to bring more heavy rain piling back up from the southwest as well. So a real deluge pattern at the moment. Into sunshine showers really at the end of the week, but then Saturday into Sunday, that brings the next area of heavy rain and strong winds in from off the Atlantic. So Saturday night is going to be a proper wet and windy one. Could be a little bit of snow mixed in over high ground with that in the far north. Then we're back into showers for Sunday before again in comes the next batch of rain through the early part of next week. The low pressures just keep coming with showers, longer spells of rain, and that's always colder for a little wind shears over the highest ground in the far north. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10. Gets us to the 25th of November. 20 members of the ECM ensembles dominated by low pressure off the Atlantic, so just really unsettled up to day 10. That does include the operational 17 with low pressure dominating from off the Atlantic, but a little bit stronger with that blocking area. High pressure to the north could bring some colder air into the far north of the country, but generally still relatively Atlantic driven, so probably quite mild. And then 14, again, just a little bit strong with that blocking around Greenland and up into the Arctic. Again, that could force something a little bit colder far north of the country, but most places look relatively mild up to day 10, with further bouts of rain. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. Gets us to the last day of November. 23 members of the ECM ensemble strengthen the blocking to the north and start to send the jet stream to the south. That could start to bring much colder air in from the east, and of course with the low pressure to the south, we would have to think about chance of some wintry conditions. 14 just here with high pressure taking over across Scandinavia and possibly, you know, back into Russia. That could well be bringing in cold easterly winds. And then another 14 keeps the wind in from the west. This is the mildest option. Nowhere near as strong with the blocking to the north. And a little bit of high pressure over France keeps the wind in from a west or a southwesterly direction. So that will keep the weather relatively mild to month's end. Some interesting data today. Interesting, isn't it? I hope you've enjoyed this video, everyone. Right, so MSV2 finally. These are the 500 millibar high tonight broken down into week periods. The first week period takes from 15th to 21st of November. The coming week is dominated by low pressure out to west, so very, very unsettled conditions. High pressure is in Scandinavia, but not able to turn wind into the east. Week 2 also keeps the wind in from the Atlantic, 22nd, 28th of November. Again, low pressure, well and truly in control, bring further bouts of wind and rain with it. Changes for week 3, which is 29th of November to 5th of December. High pressure building up over northern Scandinavia, Svalbard maybe. So this is bringing up like a relatively mild southerly wind, but could go southeasterly, start to import some colder air in from off the continent. And then week 4, look at that, it's the 6th through to the 12th of December. And high pressure then is blocking to our north and northwest. Low pressure is over France and Spain. And you will think we'll be bringing in cold east or northeasterly winds with that, and threatening to bring snow in from the east. from the 6th to the 12th of December. I wonder, it's 4 weeks away, so I wouldn't get excited about that yet. But there's certainly quite a lot of hints within the model output today. But there are, let's just say, interesting developments afoot. I'll leave it at that. Right, if you enjoy the video, excuse me, if you enjoy the video, then please you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. Why not drop a comment? Let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. And don't forget to tell your friends to subscribe as well. Amazing, incredible. And we thank you all so very, very much, everyone, for doing that. Right, so that's it for your 10 to 14 day. And we're going to be back later on with the 5th installment of the Christmas Countdown. So make sure you check that one out. Just to show you what's coming up tomorrow, we'll start off with the 6 a.m. upload. We've got the US update as well. Extended USA forecast, and we're also going to be live streaming our 10 to 14 day, and with all of this interesting model output, I think that's going to be an unmissable live stream starting at 6 p.m. tomorrow, running till about 7 p.m. So you know, everything that we've done within this video, we'll do it tomorrow, but we'll do it live, and we'll be taking questions and whatnot as well, so I shall see you live for that tomorrow from 6. But we've got, you know, the 5th installment of Christmas Countdown to come before that, and of course tomorrow 6 a.m. upload and the USA extended forecast. You enjoy the rest of your Tuesday afternoon, and for this video that's all for now, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.